Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Know every trick in the book. Hi, I'm Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today's episode is how to decorate a bookcase, and we have an exciting interview coming up.
Anita is absolutely right. Today is an extra special episode because not only are Anita and I divulging our top tips and ideas for designing and styling your bookcases or shelves, but we'll also be sharing our very spirited chat with the hosts of the Book Club Girl podcast. Tavia and Bianca from the Book Club Girl share their favorite design books with us, and we dish on all things bookish.
I was watching a video recently, an informational, educational video, and there was a speaker in front of a very large bookcase. The bookcase was styled, well, I'm trying to think how to say this. It didn't look very nice. So as much as I tried to focus on what the speaker was saying, I was focused on this bookcase that was just driving me nuts.
Redesigning the bookcase.
I'm thinking, I don't know what you said. I'm not learning anything but I've completely redesigned in my mind the bookcase behind you.
So true. You just get distracted when you know you can change something, right? And make it look better. We're going to help everybody do that with their bookcases and shelves today. So let's dive into the tips. What's your first one?
One of my favorite tips is don't be afraid of blank space or empty spaces in the bookcase. And I found this to be the case when I had photographers come to my house to photograph my house for magazines. They would always take half, it seemed like, of what I had on shelves out. So this is really a stylist tip for magazines, but it's really something you can have in your home pretty simply. Don't put too much on those shelves. You're going to feel like it's too empty, but it's probably not, because I think our tendency is to fill every empty space.
Absolutely. And as negative space is important in general in design, it's definitely important on your shelves and in your bookcases. And so are all the other aspects that we talk about so often. Flow, balance, scale, adding texture, and having varied heights. So as you would do in a whole room or in an entire home, you're going to want to do it on a smaller scale in your bookcase or on your shelves, because even on this smaller scale, all these ways to add style and create a beautiful design really come into play.
Another tip is to make sure the things on your bookshelf are not too small. So I like to think that maybe about 2/3 up of the space, the vertical space on your bookshelf, is about the right height. So you don't want it all the way up to the shelf above it. It just looks kind of crammed in there if you do that, but too short and it looks dwarfed by the shelf. So I would say 2/3 up is a nice height, although you want to vary it a little bit up, some a little taller, some a little shorter. But if it's just maybe 1/3 up the shelf on that space, you want to put a riser underneath the item or put some books underneath it to get it up a little bit higher.
And obviously varying the heights too. If you're putting a few things next to each other, we don't want them all the same height. We want every piece that you put in there to shine a bit. You know, everything's not going to be the wow moment, but everything should have an opportunity to be seen and featured in its own right. And along those lines is you've got limited real estate when you're dealing with a bookcase or a shelf. There's just only so much space. So each item should really count. You should really, really like each one of those items. And if you're dealing with a tall bookcase with multiple shelves, I feel that one or more of the shelves can be filled with just books on the vertical. It's kind of a palette cleanse and a breather. Now, not all bookcases have to have books in them at all. You know, it can just be a display case. But most times, if you've got a bookcase, people are going to put some books in there even if they are just the supporting players to the decor. But if you're going to have a bookcase and you're going to use it for books and decor, I would say no paperbacks if you can get away with that. If you love to read and you want to keep your paperbacks, maybe put them inside a nice woven basket and then on one of the shelves. But don't put the ones that look like they've been to the beach or the pool or been used as a coaster or something like that on your bookshelf, right? You know, we don't want to just have books for the looks, but we want to have books that look good.
And another thing you can do to style your bookcase is to go with a limited color palette. I have a bookcase where I've put, now the books are different colors, but the items in the bookcase tend to be kind of cream colored or brown or black.
If you're a reader, you're not going to just pick out your books by the color of the spines. So
right.
I am all for having books that you actually read and enjoy or plan to read in your bookshelf. They do not have to be all the same color. They don't have to, I don't really like them covered with other materials. Like, I love books. So I want to display my books and the ones that I read. And I think it's so interesting when you go to someone's house and you can look at the books that are on their shelves and you kind of get a sense of them a little bit. Limiting the color palette of the decorative items is a wonderful idea. It's more calming rather than having a lot of different colors going on and then a lot of different colors in the spine. This way you can really streamline the palette for the decorative items. And I like the idea of adding something organic. If you have the bookcase and it's near a window where you can get away with a little plant, that's lovely. Adding texture is a great idea. And adding roundish objects are great. So think about creating a little vignette. You can really get super creative. There are so many ways, and there are endless objects, of course, that you can put in your bookshelf. But I love how Anita said go horizontal and vertical with your books. I like leaning books as well. You could add in even some book ends. You could use just one book end if some of the books are leaning against the side of the shelf.
I think that's a great idea. And let's talk about some other things that you can put in the bookcase. Small paintings. I have some little vintage oil paintings that are just so fun tucked in a bookcase. And these smaller sizes, they're made for something like that. It's a great way to display them. If you have something that's not really that pretty, but you need the shelves for storage, get some pretty decorative boxes and store something in those boxes.
I have a cloche right now stacked on or sitting on a stack of 3 vintage books. And in it, I just changed. That's another one of my little hot spots. I'll change it out for the season. So I did have a little bunny such and such in there a couple of weeks ago when it was around Easter time. At Christmas time, I had a vintage Santa inside of it. So that is a nice, easy way to change out the bookcase just a little bit to tweak it for the seasons if you like doing that sort of thing. I also like putting something behind the items that are in the bookcase. For this shelf, let's just say it's going to be all decorative. So behind, maybe you put a tray and you lean it, or a platter, or maybe a big enough painting that you can see it even though you're going to put a few things in front of it. That's a really nice way to create interest and depth in your shelves.
Another thing you can do, what about putting some wallpaper or painting the back of your bookcase? And it's really nice to use, if you're using maybe lighter colored things in your bookcase, then go with a dark color back there. Or the other way around, if you're using dark things in your bookcase, go with a lighter color back there.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And using the adhesive wallpapers that are so prolific right now, you could change it out if you got tired of having something in the back. Or grass cloth is beautiful behind, inside the shelves, behind all the items. Absolutely stunning. And I love the idea of painting the bookcases. I must say, I did get 3 Billies. They just arrived.
Did you get them? Oh, I'm so excited for you.
So how do you start decorating your bookcases? What would you do? Say you wanted to decorate a bookcase that you already had. Would you take everything out of it, or would you just start moving stuff around?
It depends on how big it is and how energetic I felt. I mean, I've done it both ways. I mean, you can take everything out and start over. If you just really want a completely fresh look, that's what I would do. But if I just feel like, it needs a little tweak, sometimes I just go in and make a few changes. So what about you, Kelly?
Well, I do take your tip and I take a picture, even if I sort of like it, because maybe I sort of like certain parts of it, but I feel like it needs a big change. I love taking all the stuff out, cleaning all the shelves, of course, and at the same time or prior to that, going around to all my stashes.
Right.
And I'll put them all out on the dining room table. So it's just like playing. And then I'll start. And I'll start with sort of the bottom shelves. Maybe that's where I'm going to put maybe just a row of vertical books to sort of give it some grounding. And then take it from there. And then tweak, stand back. You know, you do a lot of back and forth. And then when you finally feel like you've got it right, take another picture.
Glad you remembered to say that, because that really is one of our best tips, I think, is to take the picture before you start and take a couple of pictures along the way. Maybe you keep tweaking it, but you may end up with something and you think, wait a minute, that 3 tweaks back is better than this one. So what did I do? So I think it's great to take pictures along the way. And while you were saying that also, I was thinking of the bookcases I have in my study, which are massive. And that just makes me tired thinking about pulling all that stuff out. But for a smaller bookcase, I mean, yeah, I think if it's a smaller one, I probably would just pull everything out. But that one, those things aren't coming out till we move, I don't think.
And it's such a great time to shop your house and rotate your things around. So do it seasonally. And some people said to me, in fact, I was just with a friend the other day, and she's like, do you move everything around a lot? And I was like, yes, I do. But, it's part of what we do. Not everybody does that. So if you haven't done that in a while, after you listen to this, do it, right? Go to a shelf. It doesn't have to be a giant bookcase, just a shelf. Or even just create a vignette, even though that's not really the topic today. But you really are creating small vignettes within the bookcase. Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com. We are so excited to be welcoming Bianca and Tavia of the Book Club Girl podcast to Decorating Tips and Tricks today. Thank you so much for making the time to come onto the show.
Oh, thank you for having us. It is so awesome to be here. Bianca and I when sort of like we're in the downtime between recording our author interviews for the podcast, we're always talking about our bookcases and what's on them and how they look.
Well, we are so excited. We love our books and our bookcases as well. In fact, today's entire episode is all about decorating bookcases and how to use books in your decor. So this is perfect for our interviews, our mutual interviews, I should say, to be included in today's episode. So tell us a little bit about the Book Club Girl podcast.
As you can imagine, the Book Club Girl podcast discusses books that are perfect for book clubs. So we always look for books that are super discussable. We really like books that have strong female protagonists, and we always interview the author after we discuss the book. But the thing that sort of sets our podcast apart is that our listeners ask the questions. So we share the authors that we're going to be interviewing for a season ahead of time. Our listeners submit the questions, and then, if their question gets asked on the air, we send them a free book. So it's sort of like this big loving circle of just book. It's a book bonanza.
Wow, I didn't know about the free book part.
I like that.
And yeah, I'm going to have to get in on that and send you a question. But I absolutely love your podcast. I have enjoyed all of season 1. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of season 2.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't a part of season 1. So I'm new to this, but I've got to say to you, Tavia, this is totally my favorite, new book club. So it's been so fun so far.
Oh my gosh, Bianca, totally. I mean, I quit all my other book clubs when I started this podcast. And so there's a lot of pressure on you, Bianca, and you're living up to it.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's dive into the decor aspects of loving books and having books. Anita's got a great question to kick it off with.
All right. So what are your favorite all-time decorating and design books?
I have something that is maybe a little bit untraditional. So I love the book, The Little Book of Huga by Mike Viking. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
It's
oh my goodness.
His last name is Viking.
Viking.
I swear to God. I know. And he's
that.
really
As
hunky.
it should be.
He's totally hunky. It's unbelievable.
He is. He's quite beautiful. So to give a little recap, this is basically a book about getting Huga into your life, which Huga is basically this Danish concept of comfort and togetherness and well-being. And I love Danish interior design. I think it's, mainly because I think the way they think of home is the center for Huga. So it's all things like cozy and stylish. And so I just eat it up. And so just to give something that is, a nice takeaway for your listeners in terms of, what's in the book and why it's relevant. So in the book, there's this section on 10 things that will make your home more Huga. So I'm not going to go through all of the 10 things, but just to name a few, they mention having like a fireplace and candles and books and ceramics and blankets and cushions. And I just totally agree. I feel like that's something you can quickly toss in.
I also love Huga, but I'm going to talk about more dream and drool kinds of books, because when I think of a design book, I think of like photographs, big color, every page, just stunning interiors that I could never afford in my own life. So I think, if you're talking like favorite all-time design books, I think you have to go with a book that talks about the best of the best. So this is a book
I am so intrigued now. Like, you built this up so much. I want to hear what this book is.
So it's by Frances Zamora, who actually has done a whole bunch of these interior design books. The one that I'm going to recommend is called 150 Best of the Best Apartment Ideas. And I know most people don't live in apartments in this country. I'm pretty sure most people live in houses, but I am a city dweller, and so for me, apartment ideas are where it's at. And also, this is the bookcase design episode, so this book has multiple options for stunning bookcases in all different kinds of design, all different kinds of settings. My favorite picture in the book is of this floor-to-ceiling bookcase. It's this sort of dark wood. You can see through the bookcase, and they use it like a wall in a loft space. It's amazing.
To delineate the space.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And of course, I'm using air quotes.
This is obviously a design and drill book.
So I'm using air quotes around the word apartment, because this apartment is so big. It's like It's okay. It's an apartment, fine, but it's got the square footage of, a 2-story house. So anyway, so definitely recommend 150 best of the best apartment ideas. But then I think for design that's maybe a little more accessible, I have to go with Homebody by Joanna Gaines. I know that she's I feel like she's a little controversial. Like, some people love her look, some people don't. She's got a very definite aesthetic. But if you appreciate that kind of neutral palette, the sort of natural materials, this book, we can replicate this look in our home. And, most of her living rooms have books in them. She's a book lover and she uses them in design, and I always appreciate that.
Well, and I think her style is very attainable. So, I mean, it really has that going for it, too.
Great books. Everybody should check those out. So those are some books that have been around for a little bit. Do you have any new releases in this genre that you're really enjoying?
I think you guys are going to be really excited about this book, frankly, based on what you've told me already about sort of your own books. This one is called The Art of Living with White, and it's by Chrissy Rucker, and it's coming out in September. So it has, again, more Dream and Drool, more than 250 photos, and various design styles. So it's not just like all contemporary, or it's not just all country. So you can choose the white environment that suits you and bring it into your home. And one of the reasons, the only reason I'm excited about this book is because books look so good in white environments. Yes. They just are that pop of color in a white room.
Are you telling me you decorate your whole house around the books?
No.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Not my entire house, maybe just my bedroom.
For one of the hosts of the Book Club Girl podcast, that makes good sense.
I have to read that book, Tavia. I just love having any kind of aesthetic with white. My bookcase is also white, and I do love it because it makes all, the covers and whatnot that I have pop. So I totally agree with that.
Well, Anita and I love neutrals, and we're always suggesting to our listeners to work with neutrals, especially if you're just getting into decorating, because it's a little bit easier than trying to design a whole room with lots of color and pattern, although that's wonderful. So this book might give a lot of suggestions about using whites, off-whites, and different neutrals in your decor.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do it without a decorator if you're doing neutrals. Absolutely.
So what's your new one?
Yeah, so my new pick, so it's called Why Design Matters by Debbie Millman. And
another podcaster.
Yes, of course you two know. So I read online that she actually started the first design podcast in 2005. I don't know how true that is. And so I was reading about it, and apparently since 2005, the podcast Design Matters, and it's had interviews with some of the most creative minds. And so what this book does is it's an illustrated anthology that features some of the best conversations on the show, and it kicks off with an uplifting introduction by Roxane Gay, who's married to Millman, which I think is super interesting because of course this is a design podcast, and Roxane Gay is this big literary author, and so I was like, this is the book I need to mention on this podcast. I love the marriage of these two ideas.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting podcast. It's not decorating.
Right. More like the philosophy, right?
Yes. It was very interesting. Yeah, I enjoy her podcast as well. And she has been around for a long time. I don't know if it's 2005, but probably is.
Yeah, quite a while. So do you ever use books in your own decor?
For me, books are my decor. I'm like Tavia, where I'm
getting that.
I'm just the more books, the better. So my bookcase is really the focal point in my living room, which is basically almost the whole apartment because it's a small apartment. So I do want to mention I got it from CB2. It's called Stairway. And so it's kind of like what you were mentioning, Kelly, in the in our previous talk about how important it is, or a tool that you can use when it comes to having bookcases, about having them really nice and tall, using that vertical space. This is basically a really nice tall bookcase, and it's white and minimal. So that's kind of really where I showcase, the most decor there for my books. But my dream is to have a built-in bookcase like Miss Tavia.
Oh, that's an amazing bookcase.
Yes, 100%. I use books in my decor. Listen, I am the ultimate bookworm. When I was a kid, my parents used to yell at me in the summertime, go outside and get some fresh air, because I'm reading on the couch. So I would go outside with my book and lay on the grass and like that was the fresh air. So, so of course I have books that go all the way back to when I was a kid on my bookcases. And when I, as my divorce present to myself, I bought an apartment, and one of the must-haves, and my realtor was like, okay, weirdo, was that I had to have a completely blank wall for floor-to-ceiling bookcases. So that was, the sort of the first renovation I did when I moved in. I was here less than a month before, I had the cabinet maker here, like taking measurements. But I also have a little spot on the console table in my living room where I put books between two brass bookends that are I don't know, I can't remember what kind of it's antelope. They're antelope heads, and the horns they sort of swoop all the way back, and they're so beautiful. And then I just keep the books that I'm like actively reading right there, so they're easily accessible, and they're sort of beneath this collage of small paintings on the wall, and it's just such a pretty little area. And I just feel like the books are like the perfect touch.
I have to ask, Tavia, how many books are you reading at a time usually?
I only read one at a time because
okay.
I will confuse the plots or the information. But I have a constant like TBR, like a to be read pile that I'm always working my way through. So that's the TBR sits on my little console table between the antelope heads.
So, Bianca, what's your best stack of books?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked this question because I have a concept to talk about that Tavi actually introduced to me that I am like, I need to do this today. So it's called spine poetry, and basically it is stacking books so the titles make little poems. I love poetry.
Stop
and
it.
I just love
Okay. Is it a haiku? Is it a limerick? Oh, what are you doing there?
It is whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
Epic. You're writing an epic poem. It's, it's Homer all over again.
Oh, that is hilarious. You have to have a lot of books to make that work.
Yeah, I need a little step-by-step for this DIY poeming. Go ahead. Explain how you do it.
Oh, Tavi, you probably know more about it than I do.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So you look at the titles on the spines of the books that you have, and inevitably they will suggest a concept or a theme, and then you just sort of put them in order so that they make little sentences that create a poetic message.
Gosh, I wish I had known about this in the beginning of the pandemic, because this would have been a real-time killer, and I would have really enjoyed it. I'm getting a little busy again now, but wow.
Kelly, you could have spent all day doing that.
100%. And actually, I know that you're both on Instagram. If you search the hashtag spine poetry, there's literally tens of thousands of examples of spine poems.
This sounds like the people that go in Hobby Lobby and take the letters and spell things and then leave it that way.
Oh, wow.
And then just walk away.
I didn't even know that was going on. Okay, I'm learning all new things today.
Well, I spend a lot of time on Twitter. Probably a little too much.
That is so funny. So that reminds me of something that I do when I'm in bookstores is I take all my favorite books and I turn them from the shelf to be spine out, to be face out, to give them a little extra love.
I've done that too, Tavi.
Will you do that with our books next time you're at Barnes & Noble?
100%.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
I did go in the bookstore one time and move mine a little bit.
You should do it all the time. You're totally your prerogative as an author.
Or just go, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Oh, have you seen this book? Okay. Tavia, you tell us about your best stack.
I really love matching sets of books. And I'm not so posh that I have like matching leather bound, gilded sets of classics. But for me, every now and then I'll fall into a series of books that I really love. It started when I was a kid and I read Little House on the Prairie. I had to read every single book. I still have the original set. It sits on my bookshelf. I love them all in a row. There's also amazing books for adults, and you have to get the same format of the book. So you can't have like one hardcover and one paperback. Like that doesn't work. Even if the series is in order, it has to be the same format. So for example, Lord of the Rings, all the Harry Potter books. I mean, lining up those Harry Potter hardcovers it all in a row is just absolutely stunning. And my number one favorite is, because this is one of my number one favorite trilogy, is the Natchez Burning trilogy by Greg Iles. And it's three thrillers. They make up a very big dramatic arc of this sort of thriller. It's set in Mississippi, and all the covers have the same look and feel. So when you put them next to each other, it's really lovely.
That's great. Now, what do you think about the people that organize their books by color of the spine?
Okay, so
I'm just starting something, aren't I?
I think that this is my unpopular opinion. I think that those people are not true book lovers.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have to confess to you. We sometimes pick our books by the color of the spine.
Oh my goodness. Well, just for where they are, not for reading them.
Not for reading, but just how you stack them.
Right.
You know, if you're doing them at a coffee table, I want them to look nice together.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy them.
Right.
First
I think
and foremost,
for a coffee table, that makes so much sense because that's like a design centerpiece. But when it comes to like a whole bookcase, you know, there's probably better ways to organize that.
Agreed.
I've seen that done on the bookcase. It's not something we recommend, but
Right.
I've seen it a lot.
We don't like color blocking anyway.
No.
Okay, so since Anita asked that, I have to ask, what do you think about that decor look, that styling look that was sort of all the rage about a year ago, 2 years ago, putting the books backwards?
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh my God.
And I knew you
I
were just
hate
trying to
that.
get something started.
So I think
Dumb.
I
Right?
think it's so dumb. I mean, if you thought you didn't like books when you put them in color order like a rainbow, you really don't like them if you don't even want to know what the title of the book is.
Yeah, yes, I agree.
I think it's really clearly an aesthetic, right? They're clearly
Right,
like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't understand.
Yeah. That was just taking the neutral look too far. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This was so much fun. I want to do the podcast with these girls all the time, Anita.
I know, they're
Ask
fun.
us 10 more
Y'all are
questions
fun.
about books. We could do it all day.
Okay, we'll think of another time so we can get together. It has been really wonderful to meet you ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on Decorating Tips and Tricks, and let everyone know where they can find you and where they can listen to your amazing podcast.
This was so much fun. We recorded this at the end of a long workday, and I have to say this has totally lifted my mood. So thank you so much.
Next time we'll have wine. Okay, we'll do it on Friday.
Our second season is 9 episodes long. We drop every Wednesday, first thing in the morning. So you'll wake up and find us there. And you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're sort of everywhere. And our website is bookclubgirl.com/podcast. And you can follow me at Tavia Reads. You can follow the Book Club Girl community at Book Club Girl on all social media platforms. And Bianca, where can folks find you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at FlowsBianca. You can see photos of my puppy.
Oh, this was so fun. Thank you so much, ladies.
Our podcast come out on the same day, on Wednesday, early in the morning. So everybody can just toggle back and forth, listen to the Book Club Girl, and then listen to DTT.
I love it. I can't wait to hear this episode. It's going to be amazing.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, Anita, that was so much fun talking to Bianca and Tavia. I really enjoyed it. We had such laughs with them. Tell us what our DTT define is today.
Today, DTT defines the difference between a comforter and a duvet. And it's just a very slight difference. A comforter is a single piece, whereas a duvet has two pieces, the cover and the insert. So comforters have the cover kind of sewn into the insert. And the nice thing about that is that insert or the inside, the stuffing, is not going to shift when you have a comforter. And I'm sure you've had that case, Kelly, where you have a duvet and it shifts all to one side.
Some move so much and others don't. I don't get it.
Well, and I usually get the duvet covers that have the ties in the corners that tie the insert, but still it's going to shift a little bit. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But comforters tend to be cheaper. So that's one benefit. Because a duvet, you have to buy the insert and the cover. But the duvet is nice because once you have your insert, you just need to buy the covers. And you can choose an insert that really suits your needs. A heavy one, a light one, a down one, a feather one, a down alternative. So you can get exactly the insert you want, which is really the nice thing about duvets. And then if you're the type of person that likes a new look all the time, you can have several covers and it's not going to take up as much space.
Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So what's your crush?
My crush is another fermented food because, you know, I love making the kombucha and the kefir. And I just discovered this Reuteri super yogurt from the Cultured Food Life, and I'll have a link in here. But it's not really yogurt. It's kind of a little different strain. But the exciting thing about it is this Reuteri bacteria strain has all these stop it.
Exciting
right.
and bacteria in the same sentence, really.
Okay.
I mean, you've sparked my interest.
Well, okay. Let me just say, look, is that Reuteri increases the love hormone.
Well, that is exciting.
But that's kind of that hormone you have after you have a baby or when you're in love. Remember that? Remember that love hormone? See?
Sure.
That hormone creates a feeling of connectedness and compassion. And the Reuteri, according to MIT, has the unique ability to trigger the release of the hormone in the brain. So who knew? Oof. But it's actually, some of this cultured food, I'm going to be honest with you, does not taste good. I'm not a fan of the sauerkraut. It's got lots of health benefits. Doesn't taste good. But this yogurt is actually very delicious. So I'll have the links. You can go check it out yourself.
Forget the wine. Just let me give you some yogurt. My crush are these geode bookends. They're really beautiful. They're not just the stones sort of cut in half, which are super pretty in and of themselves, but these are white agate with marble. So picture the marble slabs, 2 marble slabs are creating an L. And then on top of each one of those, in the lower part of the L, is a golden brush gold rod with a very organic shaped piece of agate sitting on top of each one. They're absolutely beautiful. And I'd never seen anything like this before. So I ordered them, and I'm going to have the link in the show notes.
What color are they again?
They're white. So they're white marble and white agate.
Oh, that sounds really beautiful.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.